For most songwriters, creating one timeless masterpiece is the dream of a lifetime. For Paul McCartney, it became an unexpected burden. By the mid-1960s, McCartney had already helped transform popular music with the Beatles. Together with John Lennon, he had written hit after hit, seemingly capable of producing unforgettable melodies whenever inspiration struck. But in 1966, he found himself facing a challenge that every great artist eventually encounters. What happens after you've written something you believe is as close to perfect as possible? That song was Eleanor Rigby.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been.
Released on Revolver in 1966, Eleanor Rigby marked a dramatic turning point not only for the Beatles, but for popular music itself. At a time when rock bands relied on electric guitars, pounding drums, and catchy choruses, McCartney introduced something entirely different. The song featured no traditional rock instrumentation at all. Instead, it was driven by George Martin's haunting string octet, creating a sound that felt closer to chamber music than rock and roll. Even more remarkable were the lyrics. Rather than singing about teenage romance or heartbreak, McCartney painted a heartbreaking portrait of loneliness, introducing listeners to Eleanor Rigby and Father Mackenzie, two forgotten souls whose lives never quite intersect until death. It was a mature, cinematic piece of storytelling, unlike almost anything dominating the charts in 1966. The result was extraordinary. More than simply becoming another Beatles classic, Eleanor Rigby demonstrated that pop music could tackle profound human emotions while remaining commercially successful. It was one of those rare songs that seemed impossible to improve upon. Ironically, McCartney himself understood that better than anyone. For many artists, success creates confidence. For McCartney, it also created expectation. Every new composition would inevitably be compared to the songs that had already become part of music history. Instead of competing with other bands, he found himself competing with his own past. Reflecting on that pressure years later, McCartney admitted that every songwriter carries their previous successes into the next recording session. When I write a song, I have my other songs hanging over it. I suppose the minute you write a decent song, that's a curse. You're always like, oh shit, I've just written Eleanor Rigby. How am I going to top that? I think you go, I'm not. You just realize you're not going to top it, but you write Blackbird, you go in another direction or whatever. It is a surprisingly humble confession from someone widely regarded as one of history's greatest songwriters. Rather than believing each new song had to surpass the last, McCartney eventually accepted a far healthier philosophy. Masterpieces aren't meant to be repeated. Instead of trying to write Eleanor Rigby Part 2, he simply kept moving forward. That mindset explains why McCartney's catalog is so remarkably diverse. After the orchestral melancholy of Eleanor Rigby, he would later write the delicate acoustic beauty of Blackbird, the emotional power of Let It Be, the passionate declaration of Maybe I'm Amazed, and countless other classics. None attempted to imitate what had come before. Each explored a different emotional landscape. This willingness to reinvent himself became one of McCartney's greatest strengths. While many legendary artists spend decades chasing the sound that first made them famous, McCartney consistently looked for new musical directions. Whether experimenting with orchestral arrangements, acoustic folk, arena rock, or intimate piano ballads, he refused to become trapped by his own legacy. Of course, not every experiment was universally embraced. Songs such as Ebony and Ivory divided critics, while some of his lighter granny songs became easy targets, particularly for John Lennon, who often teased McCartney for his fondness for old-fashioned melodies. Yet McCartney never apologized for writing music that brought people joy. He believed there was room for optimism alongside introspection, and that philosophy remained central to his work throughout his career. That creative freedom was only possible because he stopped measuring every new idea against Eleanor Rigby. Had he spent the rest of his life trying to outdo that masterpiece, he might never have written many of the songs that followed. Instead, he accepted that greatness doesn't always come from climbing a higher mountain. Sometimes it comes from discovering an entirely different one. The contrast between McCartney and Lennon makes this philosophy especially fascinating. Lennon often approached songwriting as brutally honest self-expression, exposing his fears, frustrations, and deepest emotions. McCartney, on the other hand, was driven by melody and emotional connection. Even when writing about loneliness or heartbreak, he often searched for hope within the sadness. Perhaps that's why his songs have endured for generations. McCartney understood that music wasn't a competition against his past achievements. Every song served a different purpose. Some were meant to comfort, others were meant to inspire. Some simply existed to make listeners smile. Looking back, Eleanor Rigby remains one of the defining achievements of his career, a song so complete that even his creator couldn't imagine making it better. But rather than allowing that realization to become a creative prison, McCartney transformed it into motivation. He accepted that he might never top Eleanor Rigby, and in doing so, he discovered something even more valuable. He didn't need to write a better song, he simply needed to keep writing different ones. That decision is ultimately what transformed Paul McCartney from the songwriter behind one masterpiece into the creator of one of the richest and most varied catalogs in the history of popular music.